This is an epic scene from the documentary The Blue Planet, where a large fish leaps out of the water to hunt seabirds. The victim is a tropical marine bird known as the sooty tern. During a long-distance ocean migration, perhaps exhausted from the journey, this seabird intended to rest on the water's surface for a while. It never expected an unidentified flying object to suddenly burst from the water. It caught the tern completely off guard as it scrambled to escape. The bird thought it would be safe once it flew off the water, but it didn't expect this creature to leap out of the water as well. In the end, the sooty tern still became a meal for the big fish. Why does this fish have such incredible ability that it can take down birds in flight? Does it have even more powerful skills than this? In 2015, in the waters near Montuosa Island, Panama, Olivier, the manager of a fishing paradise, claimed that he captured a giant fish with a flat, massive head. This news quickly spread through the fishing community. Anglers who heard the news were beyond excited, but biologists were even more astonished. They weren't shocked by how big the fish was, but rather where it appeared, because since records began, this species of fish had never appeared off the coast of Central America. The reason is that it is separated from its home by a massive chasm known as the East Pacific Barrier. It is a continuous stretch of water spanning 6,500 kilometers and reaching depths of 11 kilometers, which separates the Central Pacific from the Eastern Pacific. Darwin said back in 1880 that this was an impassable barrier for marine animals. In 2012, Assistant Professor Elena Baum from the University of Washington and her team further confirmed Darwin's theory through a comprehensive analysis of coral species. The East Pacific Barrier is indeed an oceanic divide that many species cannot cross. Yet this fish, which originally lived on the other side of the sea, is now actually able to cross the barrier and live here. Some say it is a powerful warrior, invincible and unstoppable. Others say it is a divine fish with wings that can fly. Anglers from all over the world say, you cannot find a fish in the ocean that inspires a person's fighting spirit more than this one. Have you ever heard of this fish? In this episode, we will unveil the mystery of this giant fish. It is the Giant Trevally, known as the vagabond of the ocean. The English name is Giant Trevally, which simply translates to a giant Kerang's fish. Many fishing enthusiasts like to call it GT, using its English initials. Its Chinese common name, Niu Gan Shen, vividly describes its characteristic of having immense strength. Giant Trevally are widely distributed in the tropical waters of the Indo-Pacific, extending from South Africa in the west to Hawaii and from Japan in the north down to Australia. In terms of biological classification, the Giant Trevally belongs to the Actinopterygii class, Perciformes order, and the Carangidae family. It is also the largest species within that family. In 2006, in the waters near Kagoshima, Japan, someone caught a specimen weighing 160 pounds and measuring 7 meters long. This is considered the largest Giant Trevally on record. However, many people believe they can grow to 200 pounds or even larger. Looking at its appearance, its entire body is covered in silver scales with a few black spots. The head is massive, with the forehead being its most distinctive feature. It looks like a steep cliff. It gives people a bit of a clunky or dopey impression. However, this fellow's movements are exceptionally agile and swift. The pectoral fins of the Giant Trevally are also different from other fish. These pectoral fins are shaped like size. They are curved and long. It is said this shape is more conducive to controlling direction during acceleration, as well as performing emergency braking when they want to stop. Additionally, their lateral lines are also unusual. You should know that most other fish's lateral lines are straight, but the front end of theirs has a distinct arch. Located near the tail, there's a row of special structures on the line. They look very delicate and have a decorative effect. But they aren't just there for looks. This row of things is actually reinforced scales. They are called scutes, and they are incredibly tough and solid. Many animals possess this kind of reinforced gear. For example, this fellow called the pineapple fish is covered in reinforced scales, which mainly serve for defense and protection. Since the giant trevally is incredibly powerful and relies mainly on the swing of its tail for force, these scutes provide a buffer when it exerts power, thus protecting the body and the tail vertebrae. In addition to this, the eyes of the giant trevally are also a major feature. They are covered by well-developed adipose eyelids with a horizontal stripe across the eye. The ganglion and photoreceptor cells here are significantly higher than in other parts of the eye. This allows the fish to easily obtain a panoramic view of its surroundings. In other words, they don't need to constantly move their eyes to see everything within their visual range. This is vital for them when hunting or avoiding predators. Speaking of predators, it seems they don't really have any. Because once these fellows reach adulthood, with their massive size combined with their agile movements, even sharks don't want to mess with them. There have been reports of sharks being repeatedly rammed by their heads until they were beaten to death. Fishermen have also stated that while catching them, they have had their ribs broken by the impact. Who would have thought that this unassuming-looking guy is also a boss of the coral reef? However, this only applies to adults. The situation for young giant trevally is quite different. After all, everyone has a time when they are small and easily bullied, right? Newly born giant trevally actually live far away from the coral reefs. They drift in the ocean, feeding on small zooplankton, but they remarkably know how to avoid large predators. Some clever ones will even look for nearby jellyfish to use as cover. This slick move often brings to mind those small king crabs that desperately seek out sea pigs to act as their bodyguards. It seems that the small animals in the ocean each have their own way of survival. As they grow a bit larger and become subadults, they gradually move toward coral reef waters. The giant trevally that have just arrived at the reef aren't immediately invincible. They still need protection. At this stage, a new defensive strategy is devised, living together in groups. Once they see fellows who look similar, they will gather together without hesitation. Since many species within the Carangidae family look quite similar, these gatherings become a bit of a mix, with different populations often crisscrossing. But the giant trevally don't think too much about it. They just join in, since there's strength in numbers, after all. Forming a school can effectively intimidate enemies and protect themselves. Under the schooling effect, they sometimes gather in increasing numbers to eat the plankton in upwellings, even exceeding expectations. In 2001, an Italian underwater photographer shared a photo online. Because the photo was so shocking, it was once considered a fake. Later, the author released the entire video clip. Everyone who saw it couldn't help but sigh in awe. Such a spectacular sight in the ocean is simply too cool. Afterward, people named this gathering of carangid fish a jack storm. Jack actually refers to jackfish, which is a general term for all carangid fishes. The jack storm has also become one of the most spectacular sights among marine animals. Schooling not only protects immature giant trevally, but is also beneficial for foraging. These fellows have a very broad diet. Their menu includes things like eels, squid, octopus, lobster, and mantis shrimp, as well as other crustaceans. In some captured giant trevally, people have even found large numbers of undigested baby sea turtles inside their bodies. In the ocean, as long as you have a bit of a brain and know how to be opportunistic, you can lead a much more comfortable life. And the giant trevally knows this path well. In 2008, Frank Parrish from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and his team of scientists discovered something unexpected while studying monk seals on the islands of Hawaii. The scientists attached miniature cameras to the monk seals to observe their underwater behavior. They later discovered that wherever the seals appeared, there was always a school of giant trevally following them. Were they there to seek protection from the seals? No, they were there to rob them of their food. Whenever a seal was searching hard and working to flip over a rock, the giant trevally would always snatch the prey away first. The monk seals were about to cry, "Big brothers, stop messing with me." Sometimes giant trevally will even gather behind sharks, ready to seize an opportunity to steal food from their mouths. Supported by such abundant food sources, the giant trevally has become one of the fastest growing large fish. In just 3 years, they can grow to 60 centimeters and reach sexual maturity. In adulthood, when they believe they have developed solid strength, they will begin to leave the school and lead a solitary life. To display their masculine charm and better deter enemies, male giant trevally turn from silver directly to black upon reaching adulthood. It is very extreme. Furthermore, after living solo, they will carve out a 9-kilometer visual range for themselves and roam freely within it. That is where their other nickname, Ocean Ronin, comes from. Mature giant trevally have well-developed muscles, are full of energy, and possess strong explosive power. Fighting them causes an adrenaline surge, which makes them a highly sought-after target for sea anglers. In particular, if you can catch an all-black one, it can instantly make you feel like you've reached the peak of your life. Besides their strong bodies and clever minds, they have another admirable and special attribute. If you travel to the Philippines, many people might recommend a place called Taal Lake. It is a freshwater lake and a famous local attraction. When you arrive here, local villagers will proudly show you their 50 peso banknote because there is a fish clearly printed on it. Villagers say this fish is called malaputo, and it is a species unique to Taal Lake. However, if you look closely, you will see that this fellow called malaputo looks exactly the same as the giant trevally in the ocean. Later, DNA identification revealed that these two groups are actually one family. But the strange thing is, how can a fish from the salty ocean live in a freshwater lake? And live quite well at that. If you want to know why, we have to start with the formation of Taal Lake. As it turns out, long ago, Taal Lake's elevation was very low, and there was a short river called the Pansipit leading to the sea. Seawater could flow freely into the lake. In the early 18th century, earthquakes and volcanic eruptions began to occur frequently. In 1754, the eruption of Taal volcano reached its climax. A massive amount of volcanic ash blocked the only outlet to the sea, and the Pansipit quickly narrowed. The erupting volcano also caused the elevation and water levels to rise, and almost all the surrounding towns were submerged. It is reported that the remains of these towns are still visible underwater today. Since being separated from the ocean, seawater can no longer enter Taal Lake. Through slow precipitation, the lake water gradually changed from salt water to fresh water. Many large marine fish trapped inside could not adapt and died off. But our giant trevally survived and fully adapted to freshwater life. This is their specialty, a strong tolerance for both fresh and salt water. In fact, it was discovered a long time ago that many giant trevally move in groups toward estuary areas and penetrate deep into freshwater and the hinterlands. Once they arrive here, they perform strange rituals of swimming in circles. At first, people thought they swam deep into rivers to breed, but later found that was not the case. You might not even believe it, but they are actually coming here to escape the heat. After cooling off, they return to the sea. But if it's just to escape the heat, why do you need to swim in big circles? That part remains a mystery. Perhaps due to frequently venturing deep into inland rivers, their bodies slowly evolve special attributes. Due to their excellent physical fitness and extreme tolerance for different water qualities, some scientists believe this is one of the reasons they can cross the East Pacific Barrier to reach Central America. Because throughout the entire ocean, salinity differences are inherently large, and in some places, they are particularly obvious, such as the East Pacific Barrier. Their appearance on the coast of Central America is also welcomed by local fishing enthusiasts. Because now, if they want to battle a giant trevally, They don't have to travel far to the west to find them. After 2015, the distribution map of the Giant Trevally gained a new region. And regarding their super tolerance characteristics, it has sparked great interest among scientists. Starting from 2020, scientists have one after another carried out genome sequencing analysis and research on them. Aquaculture practitioners have also expressed strong interest in this. Because if the genetic relationship of this tolerance can be understood, it might become possible to introduce many other marine species into fresh water for farming. Research on the genetic transition of the Giant Trevally has become the best breakthrough. If one day saltwater species can be introduced to freshwater farming, it will be a massive benefit both for humanity and the entire marine ecosystem.